The giant room of the Galactic Senate was bright and busy. Beings from 1,000 worlds sat in curved rows that went up and around like a huge bowl. They talked, argued, and made deals that would change the lives of trillions across the stars. But one seat stayed empty. It had been empty for 70 years. The seat was in the third row, between the blue-skinned people from Proxima Centauri and the tall, thin delegates from Tau Ceti. A small sign marked it as Earth. The empty chair seemed to watch the proceedings, like a ghost reminding everyone of the humans who chose not to join them. Captain Kang stood tall in his dark blue Earth Defense Force uniform. His black boots were polished to a mirror shine. His face showed nothing as he watched the Senate from the visitors area high above the main floor. He was there to watch, not to speak. Earth sent people like him to observe but never to join. Remember, Commander Park had told him before he left Earth, "We do not participate, we only watch." So Kang watched as the Senate argued about who would get mining rights in the outer systems. He watched as they voted on trade routes near the Orion Arm. He watched, he remembered, and he would report everything back to Earth when he returned home. When the session ended, many beings stood and stretched their various limbs. Some had 2 arms, some had 6, some had none at all. They began to leave the great chamber in small groups, talking among themselves. Kang was about to leave too, when a voice called to him. "Earthman, a moment of your time." Kang turned to see first speaker Na of the Centauri delegation walking toward him. Na had blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. 4 large eyes blinked at different times as he approached. His mouth was framed by small moving mandibles that clicked when he spoke. "First speaker," Kang said with a small bow. "How may I help you?" Na's top 2 eyes narrowed, while his bottom 2 looked Kang up and down. "Your people's seat remains empty for another session," Na said. His mandibles clicked 3 times. 70 years is a long time to stand in the back of the room. When will Earth finally join the galactic community? Kang had heard this question many times. He gave the answer he was trained to give. "Earth is already part of the galactic community," Kang said. His voice was calm and firm. "We trade with 57 worlds. We have defense treaties with 12 systems. We simply choose to maintain our independence in governing matters." Na made a sound that might have been a laugh. His mandibles clicked rapidly. "Independence is a pretty idea," Na said. "But it is just an idea. The Senate votes affect your trade routes whether you sit in that chair or not." He pointed one long blue finger at Earth's empty seat. "The Arcturus blockade proposal comes to vote next week. Without representation, Earth's shipping lanes may be restricted." Kang kept his face still, but inside he felt surprise and worry. A blockade? Near Arcturus? That was one of Earth's busiest trade routes. Earth intelligence had said nothing about this. "I was not aware of this proposal," Kang said carefully. "Few are," Na replied. "It is being called a security measure, not a blockade. But ships will be stopped and searched. Some may be turned back." He blinked his 4 eyes in sequence. "Delays will be significant. Why are you telling me this?" Kang asked. Na's mandibles clicked softly. "Perhaps I value our long trading relationship. Perhaps I think this measure is unwise. Or perhaps..." He paused and looked directly at Kang with all 4 eyes. "Perhaps I wish to see what Earth will do when truly challenged." Kang nodded slowly. "I will report your concerns to my superiors." "Good," Na said. "Or you could suggest that Earth finally take its seat. One voice in the Senate could stop this measure. Your voice." As Na walked away, Kang felt a cold feeling in his stomach. For decades, Earth had stayed independent. They traded, they talked, they even helped during galactic emergencies. But they never joined. They never took that seat. Earth's leaders had always said that joining the Senate would mean losing their freedom. Earth would become just one vote among many. They would have to follow rules they didn't make. Better to stay free and deal with each world on their own terms. That approach had worked for 70 years, but now Kang took one last look at Earth's empty seat before he left the chamber. It looked small and unimportant in the giant room, but suddenly it seemed like the most important seat in the galaxy. The trip back to Earth took 3 days in his small diplomatic ship. Kang spent most of that time thinking about Na's warning. He wrote his report carefully, making sure to include every word Na had said. When he landed at the Earth Defense Headquarters in Seoul, Commander Park was waiting for him. "You're back early," Park said. Her gray uniform matched Kang's, but hers had more medals and rank marks. Her short black hair was streaked with gray. "Your report said urgent. What happened?" "We need to talk in private," Kang said. Park nodded and led him to her office. The room was small but had a large window showing the mountains outside the city. She sat behind her desk and motioned for Kang to sit across from her. "Tell me," she said. Kang told her everything: Na's warning, the blockade vote, the threat to Earth's trade routes. When he finished, Park was quiet for a long time. She pressed a button on her desk. "Get me General Lee," she said to her assistant through the speaker. "Tell her it's about the Senate and Arcturus, she'll understand." Park looked back at Kang. "You did well to bring this to me quickly. If this blockade passes, it could hurt Earth badly. Arcturus is our gateway to the outer colonies. Without those, shipping lanes." "What will we do?" Kang asked. Park's face was hard as stone. "That will be for the Defense Council to decide, but I can tell you this. Earth has not stayed free for 70 years by giving in to threats." First Speaker Na seemed to think taking our seat was the answer, Kang said. Park laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Of course he did. The Senate has wanted us in that seat since first contact. They don't like that we stay outside their control. They don't like that we make our own path." She stood and looked out the window at the mountains. "The empty seat is a symbol, Kang. It says that humanity chooses its own fate. If we take that seat now because of a threat..." She shook her head. "What message would that send?" "That we're weak," Kang said quietly. "Exactly." Park turned back to him. "Go home and rest. You'll be called when the council meets. I think they'll want to hear your report directly." As Kang left the building, he wondered what would happen next. Earth had powerful ships and brave soldiers, but the Senate controlled most of the known galaxy. If they wanted to hurt Earth, they could. The empty seat had kept Earth free for 70 years. But freedom had a price, and that price might be about to go up. He looked up at the evening sky where the first stars were becoming visible. Somewhere up there, the Senate was moving against Earth, and Earth would have to decide how to answer. General Lee stood at the head of the large table in the war room. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. Deep lines marked her face from years of hard decisions. She looked at the reports in front of her and frowned. On the wall behind her, a big screen showed Earth's defense ships. Small blue dots marked where they waited in space around the solar system. Red lines showed the trade routes that connected Earth to other worlds. "They're serious this time," General Lee said. Her voice was quiet, but strong. Everyone in the room heard her clearly. "The Senate has voted to put checkpoint stations at all major space lanes leading to and from our system." 10 other people sat at the table with her. They were the Joint Chiefs, the leaders of Earth's defense forces. They all wore dark blue uniforms with gold rank marks. Some looked worried, others looked angry. "That's against the rules," said Admiral Choi. He was the oldest person there. His hands were rough from 40 years of service. "The Non-Interference Treaty of 2089 says they can't block our trade routes." Director Kim shook her head. She ran Earth intelligence and knew how the Senate worked. "They're not calling it a blockade," she said. "They're calling it a regulatory compliance measure. By their laws, they can do this." The room got quiet as everyone thought about what this meant. For 70 years, Earth had stayed free from Senate control. Humans had joined the galactic community late. By the time Earth ships reached the stars, many other species had already been trading and talking for centuries. The Senate had been making rules for the galaxy long before humans knew about it. When Earth was invited to join, the leaders back then said no. They saw that small worlds in the Senate had little power. Big worlds and old species made the important decisions. Earth decided to stay independent, to make its own deals with individual worlds rather than join the Senate as just one voice among many. That choice had kept Earth free for a long time. But now, what can we do? Asked Admiral Choi. General. Lee looked at the map again. We have options. We could send more military ships to protect our trade routes, but that might start a fight we don't want. We could ask our friends in the Senate to help us, said Commander Park. Some worlds trade with us a lot. They won't want these checkpoints either. That would take too long, said Director Kim. The checkpoints will be working in 2 weeks. Our friends in the Senate would need months to change anything. There is another option, said a quiet voice from the end of the table. Everyone turned to look at Dr. John. She was shorter than the others and wore civilian clothes, not a uniform. She was Earth's top expert on alien politics. We could take our seat, Dr. John said simply. General Lee shook her head. That's not our choice to make. The Global Council has been clear about our position for 70 years. We do not join the Senate. Maybe it's time to change that, Dr. John said. The Senate has us in a hard place. Without a voice in their room, we can't stop these checkpoints. Before anyone could answer, a light on the table began to flash. Someone was calling. General Lee pressed a button and a face appeared on the big screen. It wasn't human. The face belonged to High Senator Mock from Vega Prime. He had green scales instead of skin. His eyes were yellow with black slits in the middle, like a snake's eyes. He was the head of the Senate Executive Committee, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Representatives of Earth, Mock said in a smooth voice. I hope I am not interrupting anything important. General Lee's face showed nothing. Hi, Senator. This is unexpected. I bring good news, Mock said. His mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing sharp teeth. The Senate has asked me to invite Earth formally and officially to claim its seat and join in Senate proceedings. No one at the table spoke. This was the first official invitation in decades. Why now? General, Lee asked. Recent security concerns have made the committee feel that Earth's voice would be valuable, Mock said. The galaxy is changing. Earth should have a say in how it changes. General Lee's eyes narrowed. And if we decline your invitation? Mock's smile didn't change, but his eyes got colder. Then the new regulatory protocols will go into effect in 14 standard cycles. For security purposes, of course. The screen went dark. Mock was gone. It's a threat, Admiral Choi said, hitting the table with his fist. Do what we want, or we hurt your trade. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. No, Dr. John said, shaking her head. It's more than a threat, it's a trap. Everyone looked at her. What do you mean? Asked General Lee. Dr. John stood up and walked to the screen. She touched it and changed the display to show a map of the galaxy. Why now? She asked. Why push us to join after leaving us alone for so long? What changed? She touched the screen again. Now it showed the outer part of Earth's solar system, the Kuiper Belt. It was full of ice and rock and valuable minerals. 3 major Senate trading groups have been very interested in our outer system lately, Dr. John said. They've sent ships to scan it. They've asked questions about our mining operations there. You think this is about resources? Commander Park asked. It's always about resources, Dr. John said. If we join the Senate, we have to follow Senate resource laws. And those laws would let these trading groups mine in our system without our permission. General Lee looked grim. So they're not inviting us to give us a voice. They're inviting us so they can take what's ours. Exactly, Dr. John said. And once we join, we can't leave for 50 years. It's in the Senate Charter. The room was quiet again as everyone thought about this trap. We need to talk to the Global Council, General Lee said finally. This is too big for us to decide alone. 3 days later, a meeting room in Geneva was full of people. The Global Council, leaders from all Earth nations, sat in a half circle. They had been talking for hours about the Senate's ultimatum. General Lee had just finished explaining what she and the Joint Chiefs thought was happening. Now a young man named Han stood in the center of the room. He wore a simple dark suit. At 38, he was younger than most people there, but everyone listened carefully to him. Han was Earth's new diplomatic envoy, the person who would speak for all humans to other worlds. The Senate's offer seems simple, Han said. We take our seat. We get to vote on issues like the checkpoints, and our trade continues without problems. He touched a small device in his hand. A 3D image appeared in the air in front of him. It showed connections between Senate members, big companies, and star systems with lots of resources. But my team found something interesting, Han continued. 3 big Senate groups have bought rights to mine in the Kuiper Belt over the last 10 years. If Earth joins the Senate, we have to follow Senate resource laws. Those laws would give control of our outer system resources to these groups. Council President Yoon leaned forward in her chair. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and a serious face. You're saying this blockade threat isn't about politics, she said. It's about taking our resources? Yes, Han said. The Senate doesn't want our voice. They want what we have. And once we take that seat, we're stuck for 50 years. We can't legally leave. The room got loud as everyone started talking at once. President Yoon raised her hand, and slowly, everyone got quiet again. What choices do we have? She asked Han. Han looked serious. Not many good ones. We could try to get special treatment, but that rarely works. We could show our military strength, but we're outnumbered, or what? General Lee asked. A small smile appeared on Han's face. Or we can seem to give them what they want while setting our own trap. He began to explain his plan. As he talked, people's faces changed from worry to interest. Even the ones who didn't like the plan at first began to nod. This could work, President Yoon said when Han finished. But it's risky. If they figure out what we're doing, it has to look real, General Lee said. We need someone who can act perfectly in the Senate chamber. Someone who won't make mistakes even under pressure. Han looked at her with confidence in his eyes. I know just the person. As the council began to vote on Han's plan, outside the windows of the meeting room, the sun was setting. Dark clouds were gathering on the horizon. A storm was coming. But maybe, just maybe, Earth was ready for it. Rain hit the windows of the Geneva meeting room. Inside, the Global Council was finishing their vote on Han's plan. President Yoon stood at the front of the room, counting the raised hands. The vote is 47 in favor, 3 against, she said. The plan is approved. Han let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. His plan would move forward. Now came the hard part. We need to move quickly, General Lee said. The Senate gave us 14 days. We need at least 10 to get everything ready. Who will be our representative? Asked President Yoon. Who will sit in Earth's seat? Han smiled. I suggest Jin. She's the best person for this job. Some people in the room nodded. Others looked confused. Jin from the diplomatic corps? Asked one council member. She's very junior. We need someone with more experience. Not that Jin, Han said. Jin from special operations. Now there were more confused faces. President Yoon looked at General Lee, who nodded slowly. Jin is not in our public records, General Lee explained. She works in areas where we need complete secrecy. She has been on 12 worlds in the last 5 years. No one in the Senate has ever met her, but she knows more about them than anyone else on Earth. Can we trust her with something this important? President Yoon asked. We already have, General Lee said. Many times. President Yoon thought for a moment, then nodded. Very well. Jin will be Earth's representative. Let's begin preparations immediately. As the meeting ended, Han felt a mix of excitement and worry. The plan could work, but so many things had to go right. And if they failed, Earth would be in a worse position than before. But they had no choice. The Senate had forced their hand. Now Earth would show them why that was a mistake. 3 days later, Han sat in a small plain room deep under the Geneva complex. The only furniture was a table and 2 chairs. He sat in one chair. The other was empty. The door opened, and a woman walked in. She was average height with short black hair. She wore a simple gray suit. Nothing about her was special or memorable. If you saw her on the street, you would forget her a minute later. But Han knew better. This ordinary-looking woman was one of Earth's most valuable assets. "Jin," Han said, standing to greet her. "Thank you for coming so quickly." Jin sat down, across from him. Her face showed nothing. No excitement, no worry, no curiosity. She was completely calm. "The mission must be important if both you and General Lee called me in," she said. Her voice was quiet and even. "It may be the most important mission of your career," Han replied. "How much do you know about the current situation with the Senate?" "They're threatening trade restrictions unless we join," Jin said. "It's a resource, grab disguised as politics." Han nodded. "Exactly. And the Council has decided to give them what they want, or what they think they want." Now a small flash of interest showed in Jin's eyes. "We're joining the Senate? After 70 years? "Yes and no," Han said. He placed a small device on the table. It lit up and showed a 3D image of the Kuiper Belt. "We're going to take our seat, but not for the reasons they expect." Han explained the plan to Jin. As he talked, her face remained calm, but her eyes got sharper, more focused. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "It's ambitious," she finally said. "Many things could go wrong." "Yes," Han agreed. "But if it works, we solve our Senate problem for good. And if it fails, then Earth will be in a very difficult position," Han admitted. "But we're already there. The Senate has been planning this move for years. If we do nothing, we lose everything anyway." Jin nodded once. "I understand. When do I leave?" "Tomorrow," Han said. "We don't have much time." 6 days later, Captain Kang stood in the Senate visitors area again. But this time, he wasn't alone. Jin stood beside him, wearing formal diplomatic robes of deep blue with gold trim. She looked calm, but Kang felt nervous enough for both of them. "Are you ready?" he asked her. Jin gave him a small smile. "I've been preparing for this for a long time, Captain. We all have, even if we didn't know it." Below them, the Senate chamber was filling up. More beings were there than Kang had ever seen before. Word had spread that Earth was finally going to take its seat. No one wanted to miss it. "Remember," Kang said, "once you sit in that chair, there's no going back. Not for 50 years. "Some things are worth the risk," Jin replied. "Earth's freedom is one of them." A tone sounded through the chamber. The session was about to begin. "That's my cue," Jin said. "Wish me luck, Captain." Kang watched as Jin walked down to the main floor. The crowd of alien beings parted to let her pass. Some looked curious. Others looked pleased. A few looked worried. First Speaker Na saw Jin coming and moved to greet her. "Representative of Earth," Na said, mandibles clicking quickly. "This is a historic day." "Yes," Jin agreed. "It certainly is." Na led Jin to Earth's empty seat. It had been polished for the occasion. The small sign that said Earth had been replaced with a larger, more decorative one. The hall got quiet as Jin approached the seat. For 70 years, no human had sat there. Many beings in the chamber thought this day would never come. As Jin was about to sit down, a large screen lit up at the front of the chamber. High Senator Mock's scaled face appeared, looking down at the proceedings. "The Senate recognizes Earth and welcomes its people to full participation in galactic governance," Mock said in his formal voice. "Representative Jin, you may now be seated and recognized as Earth's voice in this chamber." Jin bowed respectfully to Mock, but she didn't sit down. Instead, she straightened up and spoke in a clear voice that carried through the huge room. "Before I accept this honor, I formally request permission to address the Senate on a matter of immediate concern." A murmur ran through the crowd. This was not expected. New members usually just took their seat and stayed quiet for their first few sessions. Mock's yellow eyes narrowed slightly. "This is unusual, but the Senate recognizes Representative Jin of Earth." Jin stood tall as all eyes in the chamber focused on her. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, "Earth comes before you today in the spirit of cooperation and mutual benefit. For decades, we have observed your proceedings and respected your decisions, even while maintaining our independence. She paused and looked around the huge chamber. Beings of all shapes and sizes watched her with different types of eyes. Some leaned forward with interest. Others watched with suspicion. That independence has allowed us to develop unique solutions to problems that face us all, Jin continued. Today I wish to share one such solution that may benefit the entire galactic community. With a small movement of her hand, Jin activated something. Suddenly, every screen in the Senate chamber showed the same thing. Detailed plans for a new type of ship engine. It was unlike anything the Senate worlds had seen before. Earth offers this technology freely to all Senate members, Jin announced. No restrictions, no fees. We believe that progress benefits everyone when shared openly. The chamber erupted in noise as beings turned to their neighbors in shock. Technology like this was usually sold for huge amounts of money or used to gain advantages in negotiations. No one gave away something this valuable. Through the chaos, Jin saw Senator Mock rise from his seat. His face showed nothing, but his eyes burned with intensity. Representative Jin, Mock said when the noise died down a bit. This is most generous, but such matters are typically handled through the Technology Exchange Committee after proper evaluation. With respect, Senator, Jin interrupted smoothly. Earth's seat comes with full proposal rights, as guaranteed by Senate Charter. Article 7. I move to open immediate discussion on using this technology across all Senate transport networks, with priority for emergency response ships. The move was perfect. By citing Article 7 and framing it as an emergency issue, Jin had forced an open discussion. The Senate corporations that might want to delay or weaken the proposal couldn't hide it in committees now. As the Senate reluctantly began to discuss the proposal, Jin finally sat down in Earth's seat. It had been empty for 70 years. Now it was filled, but not in the way the Senate had expected. Jin touched a hidden communicator in her sleeve. Phase 1 complete, she said quietly to Earth Command. They took the bait. Beginning Phase 2. From the visitors area, Captain Kang watched with a mixture of worry and pride. The trap was set. Now they just had to wait for the Senate to walk into it. 2 weeks after Jin took Earth's seat in the Senate, the new engine technology was spreading across the galaxy. Senate transport ships were being upgraded. Emergency vessels were already using the new engines. Ships that once took weeks to reach disaster areas now arrived in days. The Senate publicly thanked Earth for its generosity. News broadcasts across 1,000 worlds praised humans for their gift to the galaxy. Earth was becoming popular very quickly, but not everyone was happy. A private meeting room far from the main Senate chamber, Senator Mock sat at a table with 6 other beings. They were the heads of the largest corporations in Senate space. All of them looked angry. This was not the plan, said a tall being with 4 arms and gray skin. He was Tal, head of Centauri Mining. Earth was supposed to join, follow our rules, and open their system to proper development. Instead, they've turned this into a public relations victory. Calm yourself, Tal, said Mock. His scaled face showed no emotion, but his voice was tight. This changes nothing. Yes, they've made a good first impression, but the real goal remains in reach. A small being with large eyes spoke up. She was Vex, who ran the largest shipping company in the galaxy. The real goal being the resources in Earth's outer system, she said. Resources that are still protected by Earth's defense ships. How does their seat in the Senate help us get those resources? Mock's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. Because now they must follow Senate law. And Senate resource law is very clear. New members cannot block approved corporate development of unutilized system assets. But they haven't approved our development plans, said another being, this one looking like a large insect. And with their current popularity, they could easily deny our requests. They don't need to approve, Mock said. The Resource Committee already approved our plans 6 months ago before Earth joined. The approval is valid for 1 standard year. They have no legal way to stop us now. The others at the table looked at each other. Slowly, they began to nod. So when do we begin operations? asked Tal. Our ships are already on the way, Mock said. They're using the new Earth engines, ironically enough. They'll reach the Kuiper Belt in 5 days. What about Earth's defense ships? Asked Vex. They can't legally stop approved Senate operations, Mock said. If they try, they violate Senate law. That would give us cause to impose sanctions or even military action. They've trapped themselves by taking that seat. The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. Then the insect-like being asked, "What if they find some legal way to block us?" Mock's eyes narrowed. There is none. I've studied Senate law for 50 years. Trust me, Earth has already lost. They just don't know it yet. In her small office near the Senate chamber, Jin read reports from Earth. She had been in the Senate for 3 weeks now. Phase 1 had worked perfectly, the free engine. Technology had made Earth popular and respected. Now it was time for Phase 2. There was a knock on her door. Captain Kang entered, looking worried. You've seen the reports? He asked. Jin nodded. Senate corporate ships are entering the Kuiper Belt, just as we expected. Shouldn't we do something? Kang asked. They're in our territory. Not yet, Jin said. We need to let them get deeper into the trap. What if the trap doesn't work? Kang asked. What if the engines don't fail? Jin smiled slightly. They'll fail. Dr. John designed them that way. The technology works perfectly for normal travel and shipping. But when a ship tries to enter restricted areas like Earth's mining zones, the engines shut down. And when that happens, the ships will be stranded, Jin said. They'll need rescue. And when we rescue them, we'll find proof of their illegal mining plans. Kang still looked worried. But they'll say it's legal. Senator Mock made sure the resource committee approved their plans before we joined. Yes, Jin agreed. That's why we need them to fail publicly, so everyone can see what they were trying to do. Her desk computer chimed. Jin checked it and her smile grew a bit wider. The first ship just entered Restricted Zone 4, she said. Its engines are shutting down. Now, over the next 2 days, 15 large corporate ships became stranded in Earth's outer system. Their new engines simply stopped working when they tried to enter Earth's mining areas. The ships sent emergency calls, and Earth rescue vessels responded quickly. But as they were rescued, something embarrassing happened. The Earth rescue teams found detailed mining equipment on ships that were supposed to be on simple exploration missions. They found plans showing exactly which Earth resources the corporations planned to take. All of this was broadcast live across the Senate communication network. Beings on 1,000 worlds watched as the truth was revealed. The corporations had tried to steal Earth's resources, using Senate law as cover. Many senators were angry. Not at Earth, but at the corporations and their allies. There were calls for investigations. Some senators demanded that Mock resign from the executive committee. On the 3rd day after the first ship failed, Mock called an emergency meeting with his corporate partners. His usually calm face now showed his anger. The engines were designed to fail, he said, hitting the table with his fist. They gave us technology they knew would strand our ships as soon as we tried to access their resources. Can we prove this? Asked Tal. Can we show they did this on purpose? It doesn't matter, said Vex. The damage is done. Everyone has seen our ships trying to take their resources. We look like thieves. We should sue them, said the insect being. They gave us faulty technology. That's fraud. Mock laughed, but there was no joy in it. Sue them? For what? They gave us free technology, with no promises or guarantees. We're the ones who tried to use it to steal their resources. The room got quiet. They all knew he was right. So what do we do now? Asked Tal. Mock's eyes were cold. We use our power in the Senate to make Earth pay for this humiliation. They may have won this round, but they're still new members. There are many ways to make life difficult for them. Jin sat in Earth's Senate seat, listening as Mock spoke to the full Senate. He was trying to save himself by attacking Earth. These engine failures were not accidents, Mock said. They were deliberately designed to embarrass corporations doing legal exploration in shared space. Earth has shown it cannot be trusted. I move that we suspend Earth's voting rights until a full investigation is complete. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some senators nodded, others looked uncertain. Jin stood up to respond. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Phase 3, the final phase of Earth's plan. High Senator Mock speaks of trust, Jin said. Her voice was calm but carried to every corner of the chamber. Let us indeed talk about trust. She activated the main display screen. It showed a map of the Kuiper Belt with the locations of all the stranded ships. These ships had mining equipment, Jin said. They had detailed plans to extract resources from Earth territory. But Senator Mock says this was legal. Let us examine whether that is true. Jin pressed another button. Now the screen showed the Senate Charter with one section highlighted. Article 342 of the Senate Charter clearly states that no corporation may extract resources from a new member world without fair compensation and explicit permission from that world, Jin said. Yet we have documented evidence of 15 ships attempting to do exactly that. The chamber got very quiet. Many senators were looking at Mock now. Furthermore, Jin continued, we have proof that these corporations and certain Senate officials have been planning this resource grab for years. Another button. Press. Now the screen showed messages between Mock and the corporations. Messages talking about using the threat of trade restrictions to force Earth to join the Senate. Messages planning how to take Earth's resources once that happened. Where did you get these? Mock demanded, his voice shaking with anger. Jin smiled slightly. The same place we got all our information, from Senate records. You see, while Earth's seat was empty for 70 years, we were not idle. We were studying, learning, preparing. She looked around the chamber. Earth did not take its seat because we were afraid of your blockade. We took our seat to expose corruption that threatens not just our world but the entire Senate. Now Jin's voice grew stronger. Earth calls for an immediate vote of no confidence in the current Senate Executive Committee. We call for an independent investigation into corrupt resource practices. And we call for new laws to protect all worlds from such abuse. As Jin finished speaking, the chamber erupted in noise. Many senators were standing, shouting their support. Others sat in shocked silence. Mock stared at Jin with hate in his yellow eyes. His plan had failed completely. Now his career and reputation were ruined. And Earth, the world he had tried to trap, was emerging stronger than ever. 3 months had passed since Jin exposed the plot against Earth. The Senate chambers were busy as usual, but much had changed. High Senator Mock was gone. After the vote of no confidence, he had lost his position on the executive committee. The corporations that had worked with him faced heavy fines. Some of their leaders had lost their jobs. Jin sat in Earth's seat, watching as the new first speaker called the session to order. The first speaker was Na from Centauri, the same being who had warned Captain Kang about the blockade months ago. Na had been elected after promising to fight corruption in the Senate. Today we vote on the Resource Protection Act, Na announced, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. This law will ensure that no member world's resources can be taken without fair payment and clear permission. Jin smiled slightly. The law had been her idea. After exposing Mock's plot, she had used Earth's new popularity to push for changes in Senate rules. Many worlds that had suffered from similar resource grabs in the past were quick to support her. As the Senate voted, Jin thought about how far they had come. Earth had taken its seat not out of fear, but as part of a careful plan. They had turned the Senate's trap against those who set it, and now they were changing the Senate itself. The vote finished. The law passed with a large majority. The Resource Protection Act is approved, Na announced. His mandibles clicked in what Jin had learned was a sign of approval. No world's resources will be taken unfairly again. After the session ended, Na approached Jin. Earth has changed the Senate more in 3 months than some worlds have in 100 years, Na said. His voice was respectful. We had good reasons to act, Jin replied, and good friends to help us. She nodded at Na, acknowledging his early warning that had helped Earth prepare. I have always been curious, Na said, his voice lower now. Did Earth really keep its seat empty for 70 years just to prepare this trap? Jin laughed softly. No, of course not. We stayed independent because we thought it was best for our people. But when the Senate pushed us, we were ready. Nas, eh? Mandibles clicked rapidly. Ready indeed. Many worlds will think twice before challenging Earth now. That was not our goal, Jin said. We don't want fear, we want fairness, for all worlds, not just Earth. A noble idea, Na said. We will see if the Senate can live up to it. As Na walked away, Captain Kang approached Jin's seat. You've done the impossible, Kang said. You've made the Senate respect Earth. Not just respect, Jin corrected. Listen to, there's a difference. Jin's communicator chimed. It was a message from General Lee on Earth. The Global Council wanted a full report on the Senate changes. They were also sending a permanent diplomatic team to help Jin with her work. It seems I'll be staying in this seat for a while, Jin said, to Kang. The Council thinks we can do more good from inside the Senate now. Does that bother you? Kang asked. Being stuck here for the full 50 years? Jin looked around the Senate chamber. Beings from 1,000 worlds talked, argued, and made deals, but now, thanks to Earth, those deals would be more fair. No, she said. I think I'm exactly where I need to be. On Earth, Han stood in the war room with General Lee and the Joint Chiefs. They were watching Jin's report on a large screen. The Resource Protection Act has passed, Jin was saying. This law will protect not just Earth but all worlds from the kind of resource grab that was planned against us. And what about the corporations? Asked General Lee. Will they try again? They're too damaged right now, Jin replied. Their stock values dropped when the plot was exposed. Their leaders are being replaced. They won't be a threat for some time. And Mok? Asked Admiral Choi. Gone back to his homeworld in disgrace, Jin said. He has few friends left in the Senate. When the report ended, the room was quiet for a moment. Then Dr. Jian spoke. I never thought I'd see Earth take that seat, she said. For 70 years we stayed away from the Senate, now we're at its center. We're not at its center yet, General Lee said. But we're being heard. That's a start. The engine technology was the perfect trap, Han said. It made us look generous while setting up the corporations to expose themselves. Dr. Jian, your design was brilliant, Dr. John smiled. The technology is actually quite good. It just happens to fail when used for illegal purposes. A useful safety feature, I think. Everyone laughed at that. So what happens now? Admiral Choi asked. We're in the Senate for 50 years. How do we use that time? We build allies, Han said. We change things that need changing. We make the galaxy better for everyone, not just for Earth. That's a big job, said Commander Park. Yes, Han agreed. But humans are good at big jobs. 6 months later, Captain Kang stood in the visitors' area of the Senate chamber again. But this time, he wasn't watching as an observer. He was waiting to take his new position. Jin had asked for him personally. Earth was expanding its Senate presence, and Kang would be part of Jin's team. As he watched the proceedings, Kang thought about how much had changed. For 70 years, Earth had kept its seat empty. They had stayed independent, making their own way in the galaxy. But when the Senate pushed too far, Earth had shown why that empty seat had been a warning, not a weakness. They had been watching, learning, preparing, and when the time came, they acted with a plan that no one saw coming. Now Earth was respected in a way that simply taking the seat 70 years ago would never have achieved. They had earned their place by outsmarting those who thought humans were easy to trick. Kang smiled as he looked at Earth's seat, now filled by Jin. It wasn't empty anymore, but the message it sent was clearer than ever. Don't underestimate Earth. Below him, the Senate session began. Jin looked up and nodded to him. Kang nodded back and headed down to join her team. A new chapter was beginning for Earth and the Senate. And this time, humans would help write the rules. Back on Earth, General Lee stood by the window in her office, looking up at the night sky. Stars filled the darkness, each one a sun with planets, some with people living on them. So many worlds, So many beings all trying to find their place in the vast galaxy. Her computer chimed. There was a message from Jin. Resource Protection Act being implemented across Senate space. Earth mining rights now fully secured. Proposal for new trade rules gaining support. The plan worked better than we hoped. General Lee smiled. Of course, it did, she said to the empty room. We're humans. We plan for everything. She looked back up at the stars. For 70 years, Earth had kept its seat empty as a sign of independence. Now they had filled that seat, but not as followers, as leaders. The Senate had pushed Earth thinking they were forcing humans to give up their freedom. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand: humanity's ability to turn a bad situation into a victory. Never push humans too far, General Lee said softly to the stars. You won't like what happens when we push back. Then she turned back to her desk. There was still much work to do. Earth's voice was now being heard in the Senate, and they had a lot to say. The end.